Welcome in to a Friday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here with you on this Friday edition. Looking forward to an exciting show as we continue to preview the college football season that is upcoming, headed your way. Looking forward to a great conversation with Brady McAtamney of Main Street Clarksville. He'll talk about Austin Peay. We'll also head down to Florence and talk to David GLOVACH or GLOVACH. We'll find out when we talk to him. GLOVACH even. I don't know. So, yeah, looking forward to finding out how to say his name. And then we'll worry about the rest of the United Athletic Conference. Mo.
The UAC.
The UAC.
Don't call him the ASUN.
Don't call him the ASUN. Don't call him the WAC. Don't call him the WAC-ASUN or ASUN-WAC. It's the UAC. So,
the WAC/ASUN. That's a little bit more far-flung than the OVC Big South.
Yeah, both conferences lost a lot in realignment, and so a natural.
Trying to hang on to those AQs.
Those AQs are huge. Yeah. So, we'll talk about them, and we'll also talk with Nashville Sound's fill-in voice,
pinch hitter.
Also, the women's basketball at Vanderbilt, the voice of Commodore women.
So he has worked with friend of the show, Teresa Phillips.
Yeah. So that's exciting, and so I'm excited to get a chance to find out what's going on in the world of Nashville Sounds as they took it on the chin yesterday, 5-3, but they're up in the series. So against the first half champion, Norfolk Tides. Mm-hmm. That's important. So on top of that, official news coming out of Colorado. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. Atlanta Braves take on Milwaukee on Hank Aaron weekend. And what else are we looking forward to this weekend? Plenty of it. So let's get to it. And we'll start with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Friday rundown is brought to you by Chip Walters of Exit Realty by LYMAN Associates. The voice of the Blue Raiders also wants to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Contact Chip at 615-542-1915 or through his website at choosechip.net. Chip Walters, proud to support youth sports across Middle Tennessee.
Major League Baseball action yesterday, Cubs 10, Cardinals 3, and in minor league play, we told you in that early matinee, it was Norfolk 5, the Nashville Sounds 3. WNBA play, the LA Sparks were an 81-68 winner over the Indiana Fever, and New York down to Atlanta 95-84. In soccer action, it was Nashville in the League Cup falling to Toluca 4-3.
Major League Baseball action this weekend. As we mentioned, the Brewers are at Truist Field against the Braves. Also, Tampa Bay is at Houston. Texas plays at San Diego. The Reds are at the Dodgers. And the Cubs are at the Cardinals. And in minor league action again, the Sounds continue their series on tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday afternoon at Norfolk.
WNBA play, we've got the Storm at the Sky. That's Seattle at Chicago tonight at 7 p.m. on ION. All of these at 7 p.m. on ION, as a matter of fact. Washington is at Dallas, and Minnesota is at New York.
On Sunday, Minnesota is at Connecticut. That's a 12 p.m. tip on CBS Sports Network. 2 o'clock on ESPN3, it's the Mystics at the Dream. At 3 o'clock on ESPN, you've got the Storm at the Fever, also the Mercury at the Sun. And on Big ESPN, you've got the Liberty at the Sparks at 3. 5 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, it's the Wings at Las Vegas against the Aces.
That's all I got.
And that is your rundown.
Top stories brought to you by Piggly Wiggly. I was waiting on the video, Justin. And just threw it to me, and I wasn't ready. Neely's Mill in Neely's Mill in Columbia, right here, where Piggly Wiggly is located, and our fine friends there who are handing you daily fresh cut meats. We've got the deli option, which is meat and vegetables. That's daily as well. And then, of course, fresh produce. Those three things are three things you can always count on from our friends at Piggly Wiggly at Neely's Mill in Columbia.
I wish they would do a better job of letting you know where the deli is, though.
You got to
Because
walk.
when I came in, I walked all the way around the store to get back to that front spot right there on the left as soon as you go in the door.
Yeah, you gotta
gotta
go
know.
in and know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you walk in the door, go past the cash registers, turn to the left, and then
It's
there
right
on
there.
the left.
It's literally right there. You can't miss it. Except I did.
Well, you can miss it because you can't see it when you walk
No,
in. You're
no,
right.
you can't.
They need a big sign that says
Deli,
deli.
here. Yes.
Kind of like the chicken place in Nolansville needs a sign that says order here, so that I don't sit down and wait 20 minutes for somebody to take my order. Signage will preventative officiating, right?
Mhm.
Preventative officiating. Anyway, top story today, official out of Colorado and the Big 12. Everybody's voted. It's good to go.
And
The Buffaloes.
and the Pac X, I guess it's official from there as well, because they have reacted to the news
They have.
as only they can.
Well, I thought the statement I sent you was more accurate.
Oh, it was absolutely more accurate, without
but
question. I don't think they want to put that out.
they did react and put out a statement. Do you have said statement available?
I can get it fairly quickly
All right.
because I sent it to you.
You did, in fact.
Yeah.
So
Statement from the Pac-12 conference. The Pac-12, okay, right off the rip. Pac-12?
I mean, right now, that's their official name, I guess.
I guess until they come up with another logo. The Pac-12 is comprised of world-leading universities and athletics programs who share a commitment to developing the next generation of leaders, supporting student athletes' academic and athletic excellence, and broad-based athletic success. We remain committed to our shared values and to continuing to invest in our student athletes. Today's decision by the University of Colorado has done nothing to disrupt that commitment. We are focused on concluding our media rights deal and securing our continued success and growth. Immediately following the conclusion of our media rights deal, we will embrace expansion opportunities and bring new fans, markets, excitement, and value to the Pac-12.
Sure. If you say so.
And this makes the other tweet that I sent you yesterday even more intriguing, I guess.
And here's the thing. The Pac-12, as we mentioned, we kind of laugh it off because here in the South in the SEC, and it just means more, right? But the Pac-12 really did take student athletes seriously.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss in this is that the Pac-12 university presidents don't treat football like it's the lifeblood of a university. They treat football as if it's an extracurricular activity versus everybody else treating it like it's the lifeblood,
Including the Big Ten.
including USC and UCLA.
Mm-hmm. And thus.
And clearly Colorado as well with the hiring of Coach Prime. I mean, they took it seriously and said, let's go get somebody who we feel like can bring this program back to relevance. And moving to the Big 12 where, those type of sentiments align more clearly.
Which again makes this tweet from Jim Weber at Jim W. Weber from yesterday evening even more ironic, I guess. Where does Larry Scott passing on inviting Texas and Oklahoma the all-time biggest sports blunders? And it references a September 11 article on ESPN.
My birthday, by the way, September 21st, 2011.
So
Wonder what I was doing that day.
I don't know what you were doing that day, but know what Larry Scott was doing that day.
the beginning of the end.
He was,
of the
the
Pac-12.
Pac-12. Yeah, he was telling Oklahoma and Texas thanks, but no thanks.
Well,
Apparently, Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech were the discussion, and we could have expanded, but the deal didn't make any sense at the end of the day for us, especially given the position that we are in. There's a very high bar. It's hard to imagine very many scenarios for our conference to expand because the bar is so high.
and it still is. That's the problem. Now, let's look at the first paragraph from Ted Miller, ESPN senior writer at the time. Commissioner Larry Scott was in good cheer despite doing so. Why not? Scott's conference still has the richest TV deal and is the most unified and stable in the nation.
And as we sit here on July 28th, 2023, I don't think it's either of those.
Well, they certainly don't have the richest TV deal. They don't have a TV deal at all. Here's what's crazy about this whole scenario. The reason that they didn't take Texas and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State is because Texas
Had the Longhorn Network.
they wanted more money. And obviously you weren't going to do that to USC. So they said, no thanks. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State still wanted to come. That's the crazy part.
Didn't have to take Texas.
You didn't need Texas. And I'm going to be honest with you, the Big 12 folds at that point.
Without Oklahoma and Oklahoma State?
Because at that point, Texas is like, screw this, we're going to the SEC. And they take Texas Tech with them. And then the next, because that's when A&M and Missouri left too. That's the exact time that Missouri and A&M left. Yeah. Texas just comes with them. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech comes with them.
And the Big 12 folds.
The Big 12's done.
And instead,
where we sit now,
it's the Big 12 that's got the upper hand in terms of folding or not at this point, I'd say.
Someone on Twitter asked the same question I asked yesterday. Where does the Pac-12 go? How do they make this work?
I don't know where the Pac-12 goes because, I mean,
well, here's the thing.
It can't be San Diego State at this point, for one thing.
The Big 12 wants one more. Who is that one? Does it come from the Pac-12? Does it come from the AAC? Does it come from somewhere else?
Is it San Diego State?
I don't think so. 34 million, it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
not when you can get Arizona for free, because apparently there is no buyout to the Pac-12 because they have no media rights deal. There's no buyout. It's for free.
Free.
You can leave. So Arizona.
And if you can leave the Pac-12 for free right now, why don't you stay?
Again, the only way to save this conference is the ACC. The Coastal Conference, as you so eloquently put it, makes so much sense. Arizona is probably going to go to the Big 12 if they are offered. But if the ACC comes in and says, hey, let's do this, I think Arizona ends up staying because.
Well, here's the thing. Can Arizona go without Arizona State?
Yeah, Arizona is by far the bigger product.
I know that they're the bigger product. I don't know if there's going to be some type of state government
like Oklahoma
pressure.
Well,
I don't know that they work independently of each other.
Well, here's the thing. They may or may not be able to. And that's why, again, the ACC makes a lot of sense because you think about Stanford, Cal, you think about Washington, you think about Arizona, who have high academic standards, well, that fits perfectly with Boston College, Virginia, Wake Forest, Duke. It makes perfect sense. They have the same mentality as the ACC, higher academic standards, while also putting out good athletic products. And then the ACC becomes a very, very good conference overall. To me, it makes the most sense for the ACC, who, by the way, folks are talking about ditching. If you pick these up, you become the most viable and strong conference in America overall, from top to bottom. Because if Arizona's looking for a basketball conference, the Big 12 looks good, but the ACC looks better. And to me, that's the easiest way to take care of everything. Or I did hear that Disney's CEO was trying to sell off his ESPN stock, and well, Stanford's endowment's pretty heavy. They could just buy the ESPN stock and put their product on ESPN and be done with it.
There you go. There you go.
Everybody else has got to go. But and
Stanford and their friends.
And to that point, I would like to mention before we get out of here, the CW is becoming a viable live sports product. They just became the official broadcast home of NASCAR's Xfinity Series, like today. They announced that earlier. They're also broadcasting 13 ACC football games this year. They'll broadcast 28 ACC men's basketball games and 9 women's basketball games. They'll have sports programming, live sports programming, 48 weekends each year starting in 2025. That is the perfect broadcast partner, is it not?
Would seem.
They're over the air. You can get away with your old ESPN Plus production. And it's a chance to reach every household in most major markets.
All right.
To me, the Pac-12 has got to take this deal. That may or may not still be out there at this point.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that you would have said the Pac-12 has got to do that they've not done. So who knows?
And that is that therein lies the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The bar is set too high. And if you don't think Washington State, Oregon, and Oregon State are cussing right now,
Punching air, as you like to say.
and if they could get to Stanford and Cal's presidents, they would punch them in the face. Because I guarantee you that's where this problem lies. I don't think there's any question that Stanford and Cal are where the issue with football and conference realignment lies. I would bet everything I own that they are the issue. And those 4 schools up top, they want to play football. They live and breathe it.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens to them?
Get in, sit down, shut up, and hang on.
It's about to be a
bumpy ride.
It's going to be a ride for sure. So let's take a break. Our next guest has a secret plan to fight inflation, and we will talk to him about the Nashville Sounds. Right after this, Jake Lyman joins us on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Be right back to the Lee Company studio. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We are live in the Lee Company studio and glad to have you guys with us. Make sure that you are scanning that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen if you are looking for work on your home, whether it be HVAC, plumbing, or anything else home improvement-wise. Lee Company can help you out. Mo, we have had a lot of great guests over the year, or over this baseball season from the Nashville Sounds, and looking forward to this next one. First time guest here on the show, and it's really interesting because as I was looking for a headshot for Jake, I saw this picture of him in a red polo, and then I saw a picture of him in a gold polo with the exact same expression on his face, and I was like, boy, he makes that expression a lot. Then I realized they just superimposed the gold over the red, and I felt like a dummy. But I was excited because this guy looks like he's had a lot of fun calling baseball games and is doing so right now as the Sounds have taken 2 of 3 from Norfolk to start. We welcome in Jake Lyman to talk about it. Jake, what's up?
How's it going, guys? Yeah, I love your thoughts on the picture there. When I moved over to Vanderbilt, they took one of my old pictures with the red polo on, made it gold. You know, had to get the Commodore colors in there, but yeah, thank you for the great introduction.
So where did you come to Vanderbilt from, Jake?
So I graduated from Virginia Tech just about a year ago. So I enjoyed your ACC football talks there. Excited to watch some pokey football on the CW this year. I'm originally from right outside Washington, D.C., so made my way to Nashville back in November for Vanderbilt's women's basketball season and sticking around.
So this was kind of a convenient opportunity for you to fill in for Jeff this week, as Jeff has taken a little time with the family as the school year looms here pretty close, but get you back a little closer to home, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. I grew up coming here to Harbor Park with my grandfather because my grandparents live in the area, so familiar with the area, familiar with the park, and cool to be able to call a couple of games here and hopefully call some Sounds wins, bring back a series victory to Nashville.
So have you got some family coming down then? Have you been able to hang out with folks?
I actually just got back from lunch. My sister moved down here, so got back from lunch with my grandmother and my sister. So yeah, it's been nice to see some family and good trip all around. Like you said, very convenient that Jeff needed this week off and I could come out here.
Nice. How much of the Sounds had you seen prior to this road trip?
Well, I work as a producer over at 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan during the Vanderbilt offseason. So I've been the board operator and producer for a lot of these Sounds games for Jeff. So I've probably listened to Jeff call about 70 of these games so far this season. So it allowed me to get the format down. I know his trivia and I know all of the ad reads and everything. So it made it a little bit easier preparing for this week.
Nice, nice. So, what do you like about the way they have opened up? Like you said, back-to-back wins Tuesday and Wednesday before dropping that one yesterday, that matinee yesterday, 5-3. I guess getting back to night games will be good.
Yeah, it's hot here in Norfolk, so I cannot imagine that it was fun to play that noon game yesterday. Temperatures were in the 90s all day long. Those first two games were great. Tuesday, Sounds fell down 5-0 in the first couple innings and were able to find their way back. Abraham Toro, who is now a Milwaukee Brewer, he was called up shortly after he drove in 4 runs on Tuesday here at Harbor Park. He came through clutch twice with the bases loaded. Sounds were able to erase that 5-0 deficit and get that win. And then on Wednesday, it was really Caleb Bosley on the mound. Went 6 innings after a little bit of a slow start, had to work out of a couple jams. He really settled in and found a rhythm and helped the Sounds to what was a pretty easy cruise control win on Wednesday. Yesterday, it was a good start. They scored 3 in the first, but then the offense just kind of sputtered, didn't score the last 8 innings. So there's been good on all sides for the Sounds this week, and I think they're hoping to get some more consistency tonight.
Consistency is good, especially in AAA. It gets now the Brewers obviously have been kind of picking and choosing some of the Sounds best, as we saw the major league debut of Sal Frelick. Also saw not Keston Hira. Who's the other one? Gosh, I can't remember his name now. Anyway.
They've had any number of guys.
Anyway, we've seen a lot of guys who have who've made that jump. So there are some new faces on this Sounds club. Who are some of those guys that we've not talked about this year potentially who are making an impact?
Yeah, you mentioned it. This last week has been tough on the Sounds. You lose Sal Frelick to his big league call up, and then Abraham Toro, who was maybe the hottest hitter in AAA coming into this week. He hit 13 for 26 with 7 doubles, and then he had 2 doubles on Tuesday night before he got the call up. So Sounds had to make some calls to the reserves, and I actually just interviewed Noah Campbell a few minutes ago down in the dugout, and he was called up from Biloxi. I believe it was the corresponding move for the Sal Frelick call-up. So I think he's been with the team for about a week now, and he really seems to be settling in. Yesterday, after the offense went cold, he was, I believe, the only player with a hit between the 2nd and the 8th inning for the Sounds yesterday. Came through with a base hit early on and then a double later in the game. So talk to him. I think he's starting to get adjusted to the AAA game. It's a little bit different coming up to AAA this year when you have to go from all regular umpires down at AA, and then you jump up and you're dealing with the automatic ball strike system and the challenge system up here at AAA. But he says that he's starting to settle in there. So I think he's a guy that you should pay attention to over the next few weeks. And then Patrick Dorian, I think, is a guy who's really been solid. He had a little bit of a tough week last week against Jacksonville, but he seems to be one of the more consistent guys for the Sounds who, when you need a hit, he's going to come through with it, a guy who rarely takes an offer at the plate. So I'd say those two guys are guys who may step up with Sal and Toro heading up to the big leagues.
Well, I just want to say, with the Brewers heading into Atlanta for the weekend, I'm hoping that Frelick doesn't replicate his weekend from the past up at American Family, and that Abraham Toro kind of cools off just a little bit, because the Braves need to pick up a couple of wins at home. So,
especially if you're going to be there.
Especially if I'm going to be there, yeah. Particularly tomorrow and Sunday, they need to. So yeah.
Well, Jake, it's Jansen Junk going tonight. We've talked a lot about Jansen, and I'm not sure who the rest of the weekend looks like, and perhaps you can tell us or what the expectation is. But this pitching staff for the Sounds, especially over the second half of the season, has been really, really good. And that's why, Nashville is finding itself in a real position to potentially make that playoff.
Yeah. We'll see Jansen Junk tonight. Tomorrow, Justin Jarvis gets the ball. And then I believe the finale, it's Jason Alexander making his second start of the week. He went 5 innings back on Tuesday. Yeah, all Jays the rest of the week on the mound.
Yeah. Okay.
The starting pitching, I remember listening to one of Jeff's calls. It was probably end of May, early June. And he said something like, this is the first quality start that a Sounds starting pitcher has had. And I couldn't believe it that they were 2 months into the season and hadn't had a guy go 6 innings and give up less than 3 or 3 or less earned runs. But he was right. And now that seems like it happens 2 or 3 times a week. And that's part of, getting guys' arms more adjusted as the season goes along. But they've been great so far. Caleb Bosley has pretty much been consistently going 5-6 innings. Robert Gasser's a top 10 prospect in the Brewers organization. And he has some inconsistencies. He had a game a few weeks ago where tempers were a little bit high against Columbus, and he only threw 1 pitch before being ejected from the ball game. So some of the inconsistencies of being a young guy in the minor leagues, but he's been great. And then Jarvis and Alexander coming up on the weekend. Jason Alexander's a pro's pro. He's played in the big leagues before. So definitely seeing that starting pitching step up, which they'll need to. Like you said, the playoff race, we're less than 2 months away from the end of the regular season, and only one of the remaining 19 teams in the IL gets another playoff spot to come here to Norfolk at the end of September. So Sounds have to get through that log jam, and starting pitching will be huge if they can do that.
Jake Lyman, pinch hitting as the play-by-play voice of the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Jake, you mentioned tempers kind of running high in that Columbus game, and it kind of cost Robert Gasser. I believe there was an incident in the Sunday finale when Norfolk came to Nashville as well. Has there been any residue from that to this point?
Not between the two teams. The only moment that we've seen so far came on Tuesday. Keston Hira was ejected from the game. He came up with the bases loaded in the 5th, and pitch ran up and in. He thought it hit him on the wrist. The home plate umpire said it hit the knob of the bat. It rolled right to the pitcher, ended up being thrown to first for out number 3, and left the bases loaded. Keston was not too pleased with that call. He threw his helmet down and was ejected. But he's been back in the lineup the last 2 days. He homered on Wednesday. So I think things have calmed down for sure. I think sometimes when you see those tempers fly between these two teams, they just need to get away from each other for a few weeks. And the Sounds don't play Columbus again this year, so we won't get to see what happens there. As obviously there were a few incidents in that series, but nothing between the Tides and Sounds so far this week.
And as we had Adam English on after that, I think maybe, that was a day game in Nashville. Maybe the heat has a little something to do with it.
You might be right. Then we might be in for something the rest of this week. It's muggy out here at Harbor Park. Temperatures will be in the 90s again. And, in this area, it's always humid.
And no question, it is going to be an interesting weekend series. Again, it'll be 5:35 Central Time tonight and tomorrow, and 3:05 Central on Sunday. And you can hear it on 94.9, right?
94.9.
You can hear it on 94.9. You can check out Jake as he is making sure to keep Jeff's seat warm, I'm sure, before the Sounds do come back for a home series. They'll play the Bulls of Durham next week, and they'll be at home, obviously, for six games there against the Bulls before heading to Indianapolis. And obviously, we want to tell folks about Tail Wagging Tuesdays, where you can bring your dog to the ballpark on Tuesday, on next Tuesday. And then Wednesday will be Winning Wednesdays. Hopefully that, makes sure that we can keep that going as all fans win on Wednesdays, and thanks to Pepsi. And then on Thursday, it's, of course, Throwback Thursday with drink specials and those beautiful royal blue and bright red uniforms like Mo has in his closet.
Yeah. Also want to mention, we talked a little bit about the second half and one team advancing to the playoffs to play Norfolk. Nashville sitting at 13-10 in the second half, 2 games back in the win column of Iowa. But there's a log jam of teams, as Jake said, with 14 wins and a bunch with 13 as well, including the Sound. So they got some work to do.
Yeah, like half the league is within 2 games of first place right now, and there's still 7 weeks or so left in the season, so 40 to 50, 60 games, somewhere in there left to go. So that'll all sort itself out. But yeah, right now, pretty much everybody thinks they have a shot, but only one of those teams is going to move on to the playoffs.
Jake, thank you so much for taking some time with us today, and we look forward to hearing you call the Tides and Sounds over the weekend, and also trying to keep Teresa Phillips in line during women's basketball season. Good luck with that.
Hall of Famer.
That's right.
Teresa Phillips, as of this past weekend. Yeah. So
it's always a pleasure to work with Teresa. She brings the flair to the broadcasts. All my highlights have her cheering in the background. It's phenomenal working with her. So I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks, Jake.
We look forward to seeing you again. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more baseball, Braves and Brewers. So more Brewers. And we'll talk about them on the other side. Stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, returns after this.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park, each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
Sparks will fly and smoke will roll at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway as America's favorite short track roars back to life Saturday, July 29th with the return of high-speed, non-wing open-wheel sprint cars for the first time in almost 20 years. With the Pro Door Manufacturing 40 joining the 500 Sprint Car Tour will be the Jeg Sari All-Stars Tour presented by Chevrolet Performance. Plus, all 6 local quarter-mile divisions. Get your tickets for the return of high-octane racing action at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.Racing.
Y'all, I'm serious right now. They have a dragon here. I saw it. But no, they don't. There's no such thing as dragons. I swear, I saw it. It had huge claws. Get out of here. It had eyes as big as the moon. Come on, I'll show you. Wait up. Do you hear that? We're almost there. Whoa! I told you so. That is a dragon.
In 2002, Gary Sheffield went 0 for 4 in the Braves' 7-1 loss to visiting Philadelphia, stopping his string of reaching base in consecutive games at a team record 52. The streak surpassed the previous Atlanta mark of 48 straight games set by Dale Murphy. That was this day in Braves history.
Man,
52 straight games
that's good.
on base, at least once.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Braves losing, never good. But
No.
back then it didn't matter. We still won the division.
Well, hopefully we can get that turned around here tonight or over the weekend.
Yeah, let's make some history so there's something better to talk about next year.
Yeah, exactly.
As the Braves welcome in the Brewers on Hank Aaron weekend. The Braves put out a poll and asked folks which on-field, I guess decoration they would prefer, and I don't know which one was chosen, but I'm still trying to figure out why they didn't just put the 44 in the outfield like we had in 21, and then put the Hank Aaron weekend logo on the side
on either side.
Yeah,
either fall on. Yep.
Let's just put it all out there. Lots of 44s.
I mean, you can't have too much Hank Aaron.
Can't have too much. I mean, we could put 755 references
somewhere
to him. I don't care. 755 superimposed Hank Aaron faces in the grass.
Give us all the Hank Aaron.
Because we could certainly use it. We need all the help we can get to get out of this lull, as Pete Rose would say. Pete Rose refused to say the word slump. Did you know that?
I didn't know it, but it doesn't surprise me.
No, he said lull. Lull, it was his word. He refused to use the word slump. And you know what? For a guy that got so many hits.
Well, he probably didn't have to very often. Yeah,
he didn't do a whole lot of it. But the Braves are in one right now, and
they are in a lull. They are in a lull for sure. Boston didn't help any. But they did win that series against Milwaukee, though.
They did win the series against Milwaukee because, well, Milwaukee's leading their division.
There you go.
That's how it works. So you got to feel pretty good if you're an Atlanta fan this weekend. The Brewers come in a game and
they're still leading the division
on the Reds, and the Braves have yet to lose a series against a division-leading team. Now, up until the White Sox series, they hadn't lost a rubber match either, and lost that one. So a lot of firsts have happened in the second half of this season. Let's just hope that this one doesn't start now. Braves have they've got an interesting pitching matchup over the next 3 days. Yonny Chirinos will go against Adrian Hauser. On Saturday, Bryce Elder will take on Braves legend Julio Teheran.
You say that.
No, I don't say it ironically at all.
Okay, good.
This is a guy who started, six opening days ago. He's literally – he was the only thing that carried those Braves teams, for a long time. I wish Julio Teheran was still a Brave.
I wish he had become a Brave again earlier this season.
And if the Braves had been, anywhere close to the Brewers in the pecking order, Mike could have.
Right.
But unfortunately, here he is. And then Colin Ray, not to be confused with Colin Ray, the country singer, but
Little Rock.
Yeah. Little Rock's probably the best one. I was going to say the one where the two teardrops are floating down the river, and that's a sad
There's
one.
something else.
No one likes that one. And then Holes in the Floor of Heaven. It's a good one. He had a lot of songs that make you cry.
That was one of them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick personal story. I was on my way up to a basketball game in Kentucky going across the bluegrass not long after Pam died, and that song came on. I had to pull off the road, literally. So
that's happened to me one other time. So and here's the thing: Colin Ray had a great Braves reference in one of his songs.
Which song was it?
You said you were a Braves fan even through the rotten years. That's when I knew you were my kind of girl.
My kind of girl. Yeah.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it. That's always a good one. Big fan of Colin Ray.
Not
the pitcher.
Colin Ray. Yeah.
But he's going to be going against undecided.
TBA.
And I'm curious if that's Max Fried.
Could be.
I'm curious if
it's not Max Fried, I don't know who it is.
Michael Soroka. I'm curious if it's a guy that we trade for between now and Sunday. Like
who would be on regular rest on Sunday?
I mean, the possibilities are endless.
They really are, especially where AA is concerned. So yeah.
And a lot of rumors out there, which means it's not going to happen. But and hopefully the rumors will keep it from happening. And that's Josh Hader. If there's any guy that's on the trade block right now that I never want to become a Brave, it's Josh Hader.
Well, you are definitely in the minority on that one.
I understand that. But we already had John Rocker. We don't need Josh Hader. I mean, seriously, he's not the kind of guy that I think fits in this clubhouse. I don't think he's been particularly very good at his job since going
Which
to
is
San
why
Diego.
he's coming up in trade talks.
So, but that's one of the things the Braves like is guys who have had success and are no longer having success.
We can fix him.
We can fix him. And
And
more times than not, they're right. So, yeah, I mean, also hearing Jordan Hicks from St. Louis could be, a guy that the Braves need to fix. So, I mean, it could literally be anyone who steps onto the mound
on Sunday.
Like you're going to be there and you're going to be surprised, whoever it is. It's going to be like, oh, okay.
Okay, that guy. Cool.
I mean, so this is an interesting weekend setup because, I mean.
Well, it's interesting because Elder went against Arizona in game 1, and then it was Morton in game 2. That was on the 19th.
Right.
Morton didn't go at all against Milwaukee. Did he go in the first game against Boston? Yeah.
He did.
So
that would
he would be on.
It could be Morton.
Yeah, he would be on normal rest. So
it could literally be anyone other than Yanni Chirinos and Bryce Elder.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be Strider.
It's not be Strider either, but yeah. I mean, there's the possibilities are endless, and that's what That's a good thing that the Brewers are also throwing Adrian Hauser, Julio Teheran, and Colin Ray. These are not their top.
Top we missed Peralta this time, who we struggled with up there.
So I mean, if the Braves are going to go with guys like this, at least the pitching matchups are similar,
somewhat favorable.
Now Chirinos, and here's the thing about Chirinos, he walks a lot of folks and doesn't strike out a lot of folks, but he also doesn't give up a lot of hits. So he's got a 1.24 whip, which is pretty good, and a 4.02 ERA, which is fair on the season. Yeah. So, and clearly the Braves have had success with guys out of the Tampa Bay system.
Hello.
And Charlie Morton. So, I mean, this is not – I feel fairly confident that the Braves have a good chance to win this first game. If they win on Friday, you feel really good about the weekend. Mm-hmm. Now, tonight, do we have a lineup yet? We do? Go for it.
We do. The usual suspects: Acuna, Albies, Riley, Olson, Murphy, Ozuna, Rosario, Arcia, and Harris.
So still Rosario.
Still Rosario. Still Ozuna. Still no TDA.
I'm less upset about Ozuna because as Dallas Britt continues to point out, dude's hitting the ball hard. It's just not falling. Mm-hmm. But when he hits the ball hard consistently, more times,
eventually
over a time, he's going to get out of that lull, and the balls are going to start finding seats, or they're going to start finding gaps and that sort of thing. I got to think that Rosario is only in this lineup because we need a left-handed bat in the lineup, and we don't have anybody else. I mean, I don't know what Pilar. I don't even know if Pilar's left-handed. I don't think he is, though. So
what?
Pilar.
What about him?
Is he left-handed?
No.
This is why he's not playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's
And I mean, I would even not mind seeing Sam Hilliard if he were not on the IL.
well, Forrest Wall's left-handed.
Is he?
If we're gonna, I mean, if we're just throwing out people that just because they're left-handed, I mean, Eddie and Forrest probably have similar speed, but I can't imagine Forrest is a worse defender because right now Eddie is struggling.
He is struggling defensively.
And I mean, we got to do something to fix this, whatever it is. Braves, when we get into these situations, it's hard to talk about them. But again, still 10 games up on Philadelphia, 10.5 on Miami, who just acquired
David Robertson out of the Mets
from the
bullpen.
Mets.
Yeah. Oh, and check this out. Apparently, trade talks are involving Justin Verlander.
Jeez, that's unfortunate for Mets fans. Look, I feel bad for them. This is a team that
I don't feel bad for them at all. I do not.
They blow the division last year.
They talk smack the whole time they were blowing the division.
I know. Then
they spent all that money.
They spent $450 million just to end up selling to the Marlins.
And why are they selling? Because they're dang near 20 games out at the end of July. They could be 20 games out by the end of the month.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they are at this point.
I mean, who are they playing this week? They're playing the Nationals.
So
it'd be.
I mean, crap. It's
they are 17 games out right now. They'd have to get swept. Just for what it's worth. But,
and the Braves would have to sweep.
But well, yeah, that too. But as that Monique meme says, I would like to see it.
Exactly. There you go. So I look, I'm just ready to get out of this. The Braves are what, 3-4? 7?
4-7. They beat the White Sox once. They beat the Diamondbacks
3-7 in their
once.
last 10, though.
Yeah, 3-7 in the last 10.
3-7 in their last 10. 4-8 since their last 3-game winning streak. Because 3 games is a streak. So they say in Major League. 3 games this weekend would be great. Real quick before we.
Real quick before we. We were speculating a little bit about Shohei Ohtani and whether the Angels were going to move him. We talked yesterday about the Angels being all in and Ohtani's no longer available. I think he showed the Angels why that was a good decision yesterday.
Not only did he have the complete game one hitter, but by the 4th inning
of the second
game,
he had homered twice. And
he did go 0 for 5 in that first game though as a hitter. Just proving that pitchers shouldn't be hitting.
Yeah. I mean, it was straight high schoolish what he did yesterday.
It really was.
I mean, a complete game, 1-hit victory, and then 2 home runs in game 2.
It's absolutely insanity.
That's Ryan Weathers-ish,
It was one of the weirder things that I've ever seen. It really was. And luckily he's not going to be in the National League, which means he's not going to a contender, which means we'll probably never see him. Outside of potentially the
World Series?
No, they're not going to the World Series. I don't think they're even trying. I mean, they clearly would like to go to the World Series, but I mean, they're just trying to make the playoffs at this point.
Well, if you make the playoffs, anything can happen, right, Philadelphia?
No kidding. Anyway, and right now the American League is kind of outside of the East. I mean, and the East is just cannibalizing itself.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? You might get lucky and get a get a team that in the NLCS that isn't really as good as they should be to be there, or ALCS, sorry.
Right.
I mean, you never know. So before we get out of here, I wanted to mention, we talked about this and speculated, but it's now official. The Tennessee Titans will wear Oiler blue against the Houston Texans. And people have opinions on the internet about it. And the haters can hate.
You felt like as soon as it was announced that was going to be a done deal, but it has been made official. And so, yeah, there's some salty folks out there.
There are some salty folks.
Most of them in Texas.
And to that I say, too bad, so sad. And I'm wearing my Titans blue.
You love your blue shorts
today. So I'm just here to hear the cries and moans of.
It's unfortunate, as I tweeted earlier this week. That game's not till like December, I don't think.
It is not until December. That's right, which means you should see a lot of red sleeves. A lot of red undertones there.
Yeah.
So good stuff. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's take a break. Brady McAtamney is scheduled to join us next to talk a little about Austin Peay. So we'll talk APSU football. Hashtag Let's Go Peay. Right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Did you know that up to 80% of us will experience back or neck pain during our lifetime? Many of you are offered surgery or addictive pain pills to relieve your chronic pain. At the Dr. Gill's Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief, we have been leading the way to better health, naturally, and have helped tens of thousands of people right here in Middle Tennessee for the past 30 years.
I came to Dr. Gill about 10 years ago after my local doctors recommended surgery. I knew about Dr. Gill and wanted to see if he could help me. 10 years later, I am pain-free, no surgery, and no pain pills.
Surgery is scary, and over 40% of all back surgeries fail, creating a cycle of surgery and pills. There is a safer solution to your chronic pain. Make the call to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief today and get your life back. This office visit is normally $299, but call today and receive your initial consultation, report of finding for just $49. But hurry, this offer won't last long. Call 615-768-8743. That's 615-768-8743.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in. Main Street Sports Today is presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao, Mo Patton here with you on this Friday, looking ahead of the weekend, but also we've got the continuation of our college football preview series as we move into, don't call us the ASUN WAC Challenge. It's the United Athletic Conference, whatever that means. United is the ASUN and the WAC to get that AQ bid. And we're going to talk a little bit about one specific team, and that is the team here in Middle Tennessee. We're going to do that with Brady McAtamney, who's joining us to talk a little Austin Peay State University. Brady, what's up, man?
How we doing, guys?
Brady waited to get on here until after we were done talking about what Shohei Ohtani did yesterday. I felt bad for Brady.
Hey, it's all right, guys. I mean, what Shohei did yesterday was unbelievable. Something that
Shohei does,
something that we've never seen in our lives. That's for sure.
It's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it's fun to watch as long as you don't have a dog in the hunt. Brady did. So
yeah. Sorry, man.
It's not like they knocked us out of playoff contention or anything.
There's that. So,
Brady, what do you think? What do people in Clarksville think of the UAC? Do people in Clarksville think of the UAC?
Speaking on behalf of everyone in Clarksville, no, I'm kidding. The UAC, I mean, it's cool. You know, it's going to bring in a lot of new teams to Clarksville for football games, teams that people in Clarksville have never seen, teams that Austin Peay has never played before. So for Scotty Walden and his staff, there's a lot of new scouting that they got to go in and do for a second straight year because this is their third conference in 3 years after leaving the OVC. You got the ASUN last year and now the ASUN WAC, which of course they're calling the UAC. So it's cool. You know, people who like to travel with the team are going to get to see some new places. You get to go all the way out to Utah, Texas, so lots of new sights and sounds and all of that going on with the new conference. So it's going to be cool. You know, it's going to be different for sure because you're spanning pretty much the whole south part of the country from Florida to Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, of course, Texas, Utah. So it's cool. They probably could have come up with a more creative name, but that's overall a minor complaint.
Well, like I said, coalition, call them up, make the change. All it is erasing and renaming the logos. It shouldn't be too hard.
Coalition instead of conference.
Yeah.
I like it.
Call Roy Kramer.
This is Scotty's, as you mentioned, his third year, his third different conference. But how do you feel like he is, conference alignments aside, how do you feel like he is settling in and continuing to kind of put his thumbprint on this program at this point?
So I mean, he's definitely helped give Austin Peay an identity. They've got a lot of different slogans that they've liked to use. The red flashes, that is what they call the offense. The black rain is the defense. They've had different mottos and all that. They've won some games, but at this point, and it feels crazy to say about Austin Peay, but fans are expecting playoff berths at this point. And of course, people who have followed Austin Peay the last decade and a half, that's not something that has been said about this program. Is people weren't getting antsy for a return to the playoffs. People just wanted to win a game, that long losing streak that Austin Peay just that lengthy losing streak that they had. But they get there with Javon Craig in 2019 with Mark Hudspeth leading the way. And then since then, they've had some good seasons, but haven't had a chance to get back to the FCS playoffs. And Scotty Walden has done good things, but I feel like fans, while they like Scotty Walden, he brings a lot of energy. He's coached a lot of fun games. They want to see him, break through to that second level and get to the postseason. So this could be a big year for that.
Yeah, I mean, last year they went 7-4. 2 of their losses to Western Kentucky, who they were in the game with the entire way, and Alabama.
Yeah.
So
and Jacksonville State, who was considered technically an FBS team.
Yeah, they had extra scholarships, so they were essentially an FBS team. And I mean, technically, Austin Peay was first in the conference.
Yeah,
if you
they
don't
did.
count Jacksonville State's 5-0 record.
That's right. They did. Yeah. So they went 7-1 against FCS teams. They tied for that ASUN championship. They were very adamant that they deserved to be in that FCS playoffs. There's arguments for them being in there. There's arguments against them being in there. But their goal this year is to leave no doubt. They don't want to leave it up to the committee. That's what they're going to be saying a lot this year.
Well, and to do that, they're going to be leaning on a guy we've heard about for the last 4 years, Mo, and that's Mike DeLello.
Yep.
Comes in 2,500 yards last year, 24.47. We'll give him 25 just, for the sake of argument. 21 touchdowns, only 11 picks. I mean, he's a guy who can lead this team and can lead a program.
Yeah, he is. And he's got that veteran leadership. Like you said, we've been hearing about this guy for the last several years. He was with Middle Tennessee State, so he's got that FBS experience in big games with the CUSA. He was the leader last year. He came in last year midway through the summer, really toward the end of the summer, and still managed to take that starting quarterback job because that job was wide open when Draylon Ellis transferred. So the job was wide open. He came in, and in just a fraction of the amount of time that some of the other quarterbacks had, he came in and took that job. That's how much Scotty Walden trusts that in Mike DeLello. And he like you said, I mean, he had a very strong season: 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns to 11 picks. Also ran for almost 500 yards with 8 touchdowns as well. So he's exactly. He's dual threat. He's a good game manager. And like you said, they played some good teams last year. Western Kentucky, Alabama. He played decently well against Alabama. You look and see they lost 31-0 against the Crimson Tide. You think, oh well, they got blown out. But when you think about that for a second, an FCS team, I think that was the lowest amount that Alabama has scored against an FCS team. Maybe under Nick Saban. I don't remember the exact statistic, but they hung in there with them as much as an FCS team really ever has. So. There's good things to look at. Mike DeLello is a very strong leader, a very strong veteran presence within that locker room, and they're going to need that this year.
Brady McAtamney of Main Street, Clarksville, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, as we continue to go through our college football discussions across the area. And obviously DeLello is going to be a big piece offensively, Brady. Defensively, as I scroll through this roster, man, I see some names, and I see a lot of familiar names from a local level. Michael Rutland has transferred in there from Princeton, starred at Mount Juliet at the high school level. Collins Malone is a linebacker who redshirted last year after being a standout at Columbia Academy. Also, Javen Edmiston, who played at Summertown, sat out last year, comes in as a true freshman this year, and he's listed as a linebacker. Heck of an athlete. I mean, I don't know if you know where any of those guys sit right now, but what are your thoughts about this defense, and what opportunities do those guys have to maybe work in and work their way onto the field, from what you can tell?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, they're super excited about Michael Rutland. That's a guy that they're just absolutely thrilled to have gotten. Like you said, transferred in from Princeton, so he's got the mental side of it down. You don't go to Princeton by being, by having rocks in your head. I mean, he's a Mount Juliet guy, so he's local. He knows this area. He can get comfortable in this area. And he put up big-time numbers at Princeton as well. He's a great tackler despite being kind of a smaller guy, 5'9", but kind of a big 5'9", almost 200 pounds. Corey Chapman is another guy that they're happy to have back. He was great on the defense last year. And Jaden Lyles from Lipscomb Academy. He played some special team snaps last year as a true freshman. You could potentially look at him getting some big-time plays. Ellis from Hendersonville High School is the guy that Scotty Walden has raved because of how – great name, by the way. Ellis Jr., so his dad, Ellis Sr., also has a great name. That's a guy that Scotty Walden has raved about. He was he had a redshirt year last year, but he's probably going to get some big-time snaps on special teams this year. Javon Young is going to be an anchor on the defensive line. He's from Republic High School in Nashville. So a lot of local guys. They're really big on building that local pipeline. They want to build that Tennessee pipeline, and they're doing a really good job of that. Kendall Ball as well from Davidson Academy, and they've got some Clarksville guys in there too. So really exciting stuff going on. There's a lot of local guys. Daryl Rogan is going to be one of the better players on defense. He's a Pearl Cone guy. It's exciting to see.
Had a couple of other transfers in. Tyler Long, who's a linebacker, hoping that they can replace the Antoine Williams and Joshua Rudolph holes that were left after they moved on. And then, of course, like you said, a lot of folks who are trying to get into that rotation. There should be plenty of opportunity for folks to work in if they can have a good camp. Tyler Long, who comes in from Norfolk, had 184 tackles, 10.5 for loss, and 6.5 sacks in 2 years for Norfolk. That's pretty strong. You really feel like, and here's the thing. That's, Scotty Walden is like you said, big energy guy, brings a lot of that energy to the defense because they really fly around the field. And that's what's scary for opponents taking on Austin Peay over this year, because if defense wins championships, they've got a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, nothing's going to come easy against these guys. They're going to make sure that they're popping you as hard as they can, hitting you in the mouth, bouncing right back up and doing it again the next play. That's what they're going to be all about.
And on offense, another couple of transfers, Brennan Hawkins from Kansas State and Khatib Lyles from North Texas. Both of those guys should be pretty big to go along with, with a solid receiver group. But the running game is really where – that's why Mike DeLillo is so successful, right? I mean, C.J. Evans, Jevin Jackson, these are guys that can run the football.
Yeah, and Javon Jackson kind of last year came almost out of nowhere. That's not necessarily a guy that fans were expecting to see, but he came out and was great last year. And C.J. Evans has been great the last 3 years. But something that to look forward to on the offense this year, a couple of Tennessee guys, someone that you guys are very familiar with, Malachi Dowell from White County High School in Sparta, just an incredible talent. Kind of crazy that he ended up in FCS just because of how good he was in high school. And Marquez Taylor from Mackenzie High School, two guys who just great talents at running back. And I'm hopefully looking forward to seeing them getting some snaps this year.
I really feel like Malachi Dowell was a steal for Austin Peay. I am, like you said,
I don't think they would disagree.
Did not expect to see him playing FCS football, and so and given the portal, enjoy him while you can. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Scotty Wilden can't believe that guy fell into their laps. I mean, just a great talent. Probably only fell there because he is a bit on the smaller side, but I mean, that's not going to matter when he's as good as he is.
But as we mentioned, there's just a lot of folks who are transferring into Austin Peay right now. Clarksville growing, F&M Bank Arena, the downtown area is just spectacular. Are people, is Austin Peay able to get these guys to transfer in there? One, obviously offering playing time, but it's a pretty sweet place to be. If you're going to be an FCS, there aren't a whole lot of FCS cities quite like Clarksville.
Yeah, that's true. You got to go to a lot of FCS areas, and one place that I'm sure Austin Peay fans will be happy to pile on is Murray, Kentucky. Not necessarily the most exciting place in the world. They'll be happy to tell you that. I'm probably putting it nicely for as far as Austin Peay fans.
I did eat at a Cracker Barrel there once, but it was on the interstate, so don't
Okay,
complain.
yeah. I mean, Clarksville's got a Cracker Barrel too, so right off exit there. If you're looking for some southern eats and some shopping along the way, there you go. Clarksville's got your Cracker Barrel. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a great downtown area. You've got, the brand new arena, some great local restaurants. Austin Peay's campus is very nice. A lot of those very beautiful brick buildings. The Forterra Stadium's been recently renovated, and it's going to be getting some more here coming up in recent years. So it's definitely a good place to be if you're going to be playing FCS ball, especially if you're a Tennessee kid.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, in FCS, you have to take what you have. You have to make it work for you. And Clarksville and Austin Peay have done that, and they've put a lot of effort into, kind of like what we were saying, the opposite of the Pac-12. They put some effort into their sports programs, and it's huge, and it's certainly working out. So we're excited to see what the Governors are able to do this year. We're going to talk with David GLOVACH of the Florence Times-Daily here in just a minute about the rest of this conference. But before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts on, what does this conference look like? How do you feel like this team is going to end up at the end of the year? Is this a team that can actually play for an FCS playoff berth?
Yeah, I absolutely think they can. You always look in the most important position that you want to be solid in if you're going to be playing competitive ball in a couple months as quarterback. And like we said, they're set there. Mike Lello, as long as he stays healthy, you know what you're getting from him. He's going to keep you in games. The defense, they've got athletes there. We touched on that. They've got good running backs. The wide receiver position could be a little suspect to start the year because they did lose Dre McCray and James Burns, who were their top two leading receivers from last year. Their leading receiver returning from last year is Trey Goodman. He only had 359 yards from last year. So they're going to need some guys to step up, but there's no lack of talent in that wide receiver room. So Mike Lillo is going to have his targets. He has a chance to put up big numbers again. And UAC this year, there's no necessarily clear front runner champion. There's no one ranked in the top 10, 15, even 20 in some polls. Eastern Kentucky looks like the early favorite, but anything can happen in this conference. And with how brand new it is, with so many of these teams meeting up for the first time, it could be a fun ride this year.
Didn't realize this. Oliver Luck is the executive director, not the commissioner, but executive director. So that's interesting. After his several failed spring football attempts. Anyway, yeah, Eastern Kentucky is ranked 21st, I believe, number 21 in the Hero FCS poll.
Mm-hmm. I believe they're the only ranked UAC team.
Yeah, and so, I mean, should be interesting to see how this plays out. I've not seen any preseason polls. I don't know if they've had a media day or
they had a media day on July 14th, but I can't really find anything on it.
Can't find a poll anywhere. So,
yeah.
I mean, collegefootballpoll.com doesn't even have a poll on the UAC. So if they don't have a poll, do they actually exist? That's the real question here. I don't know. But do you think this team can beat Eastern Kentucky?
Yeah.
I mean, you feel like they've got a shot to win this thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think there are multiple teams that have a chance to win the whole thing, the whole conference, I should say. They beat Eastern Kentucky last year. They can do it again.
I'm interested to see the Utah Tech Trailblazers come to town. That should be fun. November 11th.
Actually, it's not Utah Tech that comes. No, Utah Tech does come to town. Austin Peay goes to Cedar City, Utah, to take on Southern Utah.
Southern Utah. That's right.
Southern Utah. What even is a Southern Utah?
Somewhere down there in the mountains. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention week 2, or rather their second game of the season. Austin Peay goes to Neyland, so we'll see what happens there.
Good luck getting credentialed. Don't tell them you know us.
Yeah, do not mention our name, whatever you
I'll
do.
keep that tie a secret.
That is an automatic no. I
No.
promise you. So,
Good to know.
man, we appreciate you taking some time. Looking forward to again, Austin Peay season. Like you said, it's going to be a good one. They get Tennessee on the road, but then they got East Tennessee coming to Clarksville before going to Nacogdoches to take on Stephen F. Austin, and then to Lindenwood for an old OVC. Well, not an old OVC folk, because Lindenwood just got there. But Gardner Webb then comes to Clarksville before they go to Cedar City, Utah for Southern Utah, and then they come back home for – is this a home and away every dadgum week? It's like –
back and forth?
I don't think they have – they don't have back-to-back home games until the end of the year.
Yeah.
So
they don't have a lot of home games this year. I think it's maybe 5 home games total, and and a lot of them come late.
ETSU, Gardner Webb, UNA, Utah Tech, and then Central Arkansas. Those are your home games. So make sure to see them, but you'll have to do it in the cold because 2 of them are in November. But, man, we appreciate it. Looking forward to this one, and we will talk more about Austin Peay throughout the year, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Always good to join.
Thanks, Brad.
Mo, I would love to talk more about the UAC, but let me just tell you, this is what I know. All right. And it's basically from collegefootballpoll.com. This is what they know. They did hold their media day. No preseason polling was undertaken of either coaches or media, so there's no official preseason poll. The UAC was denied a waiver request to be formally recognized by the NCAA as a single sport conference in 2023, but the ASUN and WAC will still share an auto bid. Rest assured recognition of the new conference that will come. Oliver Luck, former Colts quarterback, former dad of Andrew Luck, former Colts quarterback. He spent time as AD at West Virginia, was on the playoff committee. He's had been the commissioner of several failed spring leagues. And essentially this is just a means to an end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all about, like we were talking to John Hattler yesterday, it's all about keeping that automatic qualifier.
They'll add UTRGV in the fall of 2025 when it begins sponsorship of football, but we talked about they have already hired a coach and all kinds of stuff. So Rio Grande Valley, which used to be they used to have a different name. They just rebranded.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't remember what the name was, but they were a different name, and they've rebranded to Texas Rio Grande Valley. So, yeah, that's what we know about the UAC. Scrolling through Twitter, as I am wont to do before we get to our next guest, Mike Farrell, the godfather of recruiting, self-proclaimed, put out his top quarterbacks entering 2023 list for FBS. Three of the top 4 come from the Pac-X. And that is Caleb Williams at number 2, Bo Nix at number 3, and Michael Penix Jr. at number 4. After that, number 5, Tulane's Michael Pratt. Where is Joe Milton on the list?
Is he on the list?
Well, there's 50 names.
And he's not on there?
He's on there. Where is he?
You asking me where he is or where he should be?
Where is he?
He's south of 20 on Mike Farrell's list. He should be in the top 10.
Okay. He's 27th behind household name Ohio quarterback Curtis Rourke.
Ohio, not Ohio State.
No, just Ohio. Like the Bobcats. Yeah. He in the top 15, he has Hudson Card from
Georgia.
No, from Purdue. Okay, this is his first-year starter at number 11 for Purdue. First-year starter at Purdue is number 11. Sam Hartman at 12. Okay. Austin Reed from Western Kentucky at 13. Pretty good quarterback. But he's ahead of number 14, KJ Jefferson. Talia Tungavailoa is at 17.
And yet you're reading it.
Frank Harris of UTSA at 20.
Lefty.
Carson Beck, first-year starter at Georgia, 22. Okay. Grayson McCall at 24. Feel like he should be higher.
Is he still at Coastal?
He's still at Coastal.
Okay.
Remember we talked about we thought he would transfer to Liberty and did not.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I told you Curtis Rourke from Ohio before Joe Milton. Number 30, Will Rogers. A little surprised by that. I think a lot of folks are high on Will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know NC State's quarterback's name because he's got 40 letters and it's just a lot. Brennan Armstrong. Yeah. Spencer Rattler at 35. Shadur Sanders at 37. Peyton Thorne, who hasn't even won the job at Auburn, at 39.
Where's Robbie Ashford?
Not on the list. Let's see here. Oh, South Alabama's Carter Bradley at 42, right behind Jackson Dart. Cade McNamara at 44.
He just listed guys, didn't he?
He
just
went,
as he came up with them. That's the order they came to his mind.
John Rice Plumlee at 45. Troy's Gunnar Watson at 49. And Arizona's Jaden DeLara at 50.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt this madness and tell you that UT Rio Grande Valley was UT Pan American.
I told you they were something different.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
And
how would I have known the Pan American?
And they were the Bronx, and now they're the Vaqueros.
Yeah, the Vaqueros is a cool name.
Yeah.
And their branding is cool.
Mm-hmm.
They have a nice logo. I like it. I find it interesting here that on this list.
We still got to talk about this.
Well, Auburn, Troy, South Alabama all have quarterbacks on this list, and Alabama doesn't. Though both of Alabama's quarterbacks would be starting at any of those places. And the problem is that if he lists one of them and they don't play, then he looks like an idiot.
Well,
but not listing either of them makes him look like an idiot.
Well, I mean, he listed Peyton Thorne and not Robbie Ashford.
Well, at least Peyton Thorne has,
played somewhere.
I mean, he's got some film.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was wild, man.
It is.
Cade Klubnik, who was awful against the worst pass defense in the history of football last year, sitting at 21 ahead of Joe Milton. So
I don't know what to tell you. Other than you're reading it.
Hey, Justin, can you hear me? He said,
yes, sir. What's up?
Question of the day. Would you rather?
You broke up there. What'd you say?
Did it?
No, it did not.
Yeah.
Would you rather 95 and humid or 25 and windy?
Okay, for some reason, you're back now. What did you say?
5 and humid or 25 and windy?
Whoa, that's tough.
No, it's
I think
not.
I'd go
No, it's
25 and
not.
windy. You can layer up.
You can layer up, but all you're going to do is sweat if it's 95 and humid. If it's 25 and windy, you might not have ears at the end of the day. They might just fall off. Your nose is going to be non-existent.
No. It's
Okay, maybe humidity just because I'm used to it.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Like if we were from,
well, it's 95 and humid out there right now.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 103 heat index.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I will take this over 25 and windy
all day,
any day. I was just curious what you thought.
Yeah. That was not hard. Not for me. Anyway.
No, and not even for me, a guy who would rather be cold than hot.
No.
So
would you rather have no AC during the hot weather or no heat during cold?
No AC.
No AC.
Yeah. No AC.
I can at least roll the windows down.
Exactly.
You cannot heat a car up if you don't have heater.
No.
You cannot heat it up. It cannot be done.
Yeah. I hate being cold, man. Hate it.
And here's the thing. You can't drive your car for a while. Like you can't even you got to go out there and scrape the window off and get the because you don't have
and
a
hope
heater.
it doesn't fog back
I
up.
hope it doesn't fog up because then
Yep.
you're just
Give me
it's no good.
no AC.
Yeah, every
I'm
time.
good.
We're gonna take a break. When we come back, David G. We still haven't figured out how to say his last name, and
We'll let
hopefully
him
he'll tell
introduce
us.
himself.
There you
when we
go.
come back.
The Times Daily down in Florence, coming back to talk a little UAC with us right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around. Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here, and we are getting ready to continue our annual football preview shows as we are previewing the UAC, the United Athletic Conference today, which includes members Abilene Christian, Austin Peay, Central Arkansas, Eastern Kentucky, North Alabama, Southern Utah, Stephen F. Austin, Tarleton State, and Utah Tech. Although Tarleton State and Utah Tech are not eligible for the UAC title or FCS playoffs.
Because they're coming up from.
Because they are coming up. But to talk about this new alliance, coalition, conference, whatever you want to call it, we go down to North Alabama in the land of the Singing River. And that is Florence. And David, welcome in. Tell us how to say your last name. We just don't know.
Thanks, guys. How you doing? It's GLOVACH. Globach. Yeah, the C makes a K sound. H is silent.
We were very curious if it was Globach.
No, you were curious. I felt like it was GLOVACH, but I didn't feel strongly enough about it.
It's still iffy.
Yeah. At any rate, David G., welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. What feel do you have, David, for the UAC? I mean, obviously, this is the first year that these schools have played together in some loose bonding, I guess. I mean, what do you know?
Well, this is actually, I guess, technically speaking, it's the first year. Technically speaking, it's the third year because it's just kind of a rebranding of what was known as the WAC ASUN partnership.
Okay.
That's been done the previous 2 seasons to kind of solidify an automatic qualifier spot for the FCS playoffs.
Okay.
But this will be the first year that you'll have more crossover in terms of the WAC schools playing the ASUN schools. That'll all kind of count as the conference opponents this year.
That said, do you know what do you know about Southern Utah?
He doesn't have to know anything. They don't play Southern Utah.
Do they not? Oh, well, never mind.
They get Utah Tech though.
No, I mean, just
still,
from
yeah.
a broad view of this conference coalition alliance, who's good?
I would say right now, most of the schools that are probably the top contenders would have to be a couple of WAC schools, an ASUN school. I know Eastern Kentucky, who plays in the same conference as UNA for everything else, won the AQ spot last year, but probably Central Arkansas is the top contender. I think I heard something like where they're bringing back like 92% of their team from last year. Most of their impact players, from quarterback to their 2 receivers, to their top 2 running backs, are back. They added Shenderick Powell, who ran for 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns, I believe, at UNA last year. Tarleton State will probably be another contender. They lost their quarterback to Georgia Southern, but they pretty much have everybody else coming back. And then once you kind of get past those 2, everybody else, for the most part, except for UNA, especially last season, and Southern Utah, or Utah Tech, excuse me, are kind of like in the middle of the pack. And obviously, like you said earlier, Tarleton State can't compete for it. But those are probably like the 2 main teams I would think at the moment.
Well, as we look at this, like you said, Eastern won the conference last year. They won the AQ bid, but we just talked with Brady McAtamney. Austin Peay beat them last year. And so they certainly feel like they have a chance to win this thing. But those Texas schools really, especially, Stephen F. Austin, they feel like they should be, at the top of these type of conferences, especially, against teams like Eastern Kentucky and Austin Peay and North Alabama. They feel like they should be competing with those. So, how does this conference stack up against what was once a really proud WAC conference, the ASUN side of it?
How does it stack up?
Is the ASUN really the leader of this thing?
Honestly, no. I would probably lean more towards the WAC schools. To be honest with you, I think that the WAC schools probably provide a deeper field overall than the ASUN schools do, especially from top to bottom. When you look at the ASUN schools, whether it's Central Arkansas or Eastern Kentucky or Austin Peay, they were all kind of jumbled up last year. I mean, they each had, I think they went 3-2 if you include Jack State in their conference record. I think they all had the exact same conference record. There wasn't that much disparity between them. And then when you look at some of the WAC schools, especially when you get to like Tarleton State, Abilene Christian can be good. That depends. Some of the Utah schools are okay. I mean, Stephen F. Austin has been good in the past. Whether or not they're good this year, coming off, I think, a 6-5 record or 5-6 record, really kind of depends. But the thing with the Texas school is obviously you have that recruiting base that you can rely on, and those facilities that you can kind of lure them in with. So that kind of stuff matters, obviously. So at the moment, I would probably give the edge to the WAC schools over the ASUN schools. But, especially with the transfer portal and everything like that, that can always be a toss-up at the end of the day.
There was no preseason poll, no coaches poll, no media poll. And that's probably because nobody knows a whole lot about what to expect again out of this thing. With like you said, with more crossover between the two. So, if you had to say, your top three, you said Central Arkansas, you think probably has a chance in Eastern Kentucky, but who really has a chance to win this thing? Is it 3 schools? Is it 5 schools? Is it anybody's kind of game? What do we expect?
I would probably lean more towards Central Arkansas, but at the same time, especially with the way everything played out last year, I would probably say it's everybody's game. Everybody is pretty much, I guess, even outside of maybe 1 or 2 schools is probably even with everybody. So it really kind of depends on what way certain things fall. I mean, there was a few schools that had 5-game losing streaks in there where they lost, 4 out of 4 of those games by like 3 points or less. So everything is really kind of a toss-up, I would say. I would give Central Arkansas, I think, the favorite to win everything based on what they have and what they have coming back. They have the reigning co-ASUN player of the year, the ASUN defensive player of the year who had 12 sacks. I think right now at the moment they're probably the team to beat, and then everybody else. But it's really close between 1 and 2 and 3. I mean, you can put Eastern Kentucky, Austin Peay, and schools like that.
David GLOVACH, there we go, of the Times Union in Florence, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. David, a little closer to home, what is UNA looking like in year 1 under Brent Dearman?
Boy, that is actually a really good question. I mean, they were not good last year. There's so much that they have to kind of replenish and rebuild. Everybody seems to be in good spirits and energetic and stuff like that. But again, it's only the off season. Training camp just started today. They just had their first practice. So it really kind of depends on how they are able to build, I guess is maybe the best way to put it. I mean, you have your quarterback coming back from last year. You have a couple playmakers, whether it's at tight end, Caleb Heatherly, or receiver, and TK Kennebrew, and DeMarcus Lacey, who's also being a quasi running back. You have Parker Driggers, a running back. Offensive line, you're kind of replacing your center, so that's a big loss right there. But the main question is what the defense can do. I mean, that defense gave up 7 games of 40-plus points. I think they gave up an average of like 44 points a game. They just couldn't stop anybody last year. I think the game against Eastern Kentucky, where UNA's offense drove down the field in the final minute and a half to take the lead, and Eastern Kentucky marched like 98 yards in less than a minute to win the game, which was kind of just a summation of what that year was last year. So really, will the offense be okay? Perhaps. I mean, they're learning new concepts, new offense and stuff like that. But really, I think the big question is going to be what the defense is going to be and what ultimately they're going to be able to build with that.
They do have some local flavor down at UNA, including former Summertown quarterback Colton Schaefer, obviously a redshirt freshman, probably not going to see much action. But I'm curious if there's any thoughts on guys like Colton or linebacker Rush Lansdale. Who else? I guess that's about it from our area. But do you have any information on those 2 guys particularly?
Quarterback's probably gonna be a little tight in terms of getting on the field. Right now, I would think the 2 main guys going for the competition is Noah Walters, who was a starter last year, and then a transfer that Brent Dearman brought in with him from FAU. I would think right now Walters has the lead for the job. Pretty much, that's just my thought on it. He pretty much played outside of 3/4 of the first game every single snap last year, or 98% of the snaps. And then linebacker is kind of a toss-up. They have a couple guys in rotation or trying to work through the rotation, but I would think at this point, pretty much every spot's up for grabs, considering what that defense did last year. So that's kind of a wait and see.
All right. Well, certainly just anytime we can get some updates on guys that we know and have seen before is always good. A lot of kids out of McKenzie, Mo. They went up there and got a bunch of rebels that had been state champions over the last couple of years.
You know, they've shown that they know how to win over there, and that's why you see a bunch of them there, and you saw a handful of them at Austin Peay as well. So, yeah.
So looking forward to seeing what Brent Dearman, as you can see, David, MTSU back here, he was offensive coordinator, obviously at Middle for a year, and
we certainly have interest in what he's able to get done.
And UNA in general, I mean, this is a school that has a long history, a lot of pride, and a lot of folks. To me, it feels like, it almost feels like the move up to FCS has kind of diminished that. But obviously, with the new stadium talks and all of that, maybe some pride bringing it back to Florence. Does UNA and UNA faithful, do they feel like, FCS is where they need to be?
That's a good question. I would say, because there's also been talks about the United Athletic Conference at some point trying to move up to the FBS. Whether that happens remains to be seen. That's still very much, rumors and talks and things of that nature. But part of the issue with the UNA and their move up to the FCS, and you haven't really seen it with like a school like Tarleton State, just throw in an example since they play in the same conference, is when UNA announced their move to the FCS, they kind of stood pat and didn't do a whole lot of fundraising and project building. They didn't put a whole lot of stock into it. Their whole thing was, hey, we got approved to go up to the FCS and we're good. But
gotcha.
At this point, they're kind of playing catch up to where everybody else is, whether it's in terms of dollars, whether in terms of coaching staff, the stadium, which at this point doesn't, what UNA says doesn't have a concrete design plan yet. That's still another 3, 4, 5 years away. So the problem with UNA is that they've really kind of lagged behind the last 4 to 6 years, and trying to catch up to that, especially when the world of college football just moves so quickly and is changing so rapidly. That's hard to do.
No question there. David, thanks again for taking time with us. We know about as much about the UAC as anybody else, which is almost nothing. and so getting any kind of information that we can is always helpful, especially when we're obviously going to be keeping an eye on Austin Peay here in Middle Tennessee, but also I think North Alabama is probably closer to us than Austin Peay.
Probably.
And of course, with my ties to the area as well, I'm always keeping up with the purple and gold. So, man, we appreciate you taking some time with us. Tell Greg DeWalt that Mo said hi. Don't say anything about me. It's probably better that way. But again, we do appreciate you taking some time with us and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, David.
All right, we'll take a 1-minute break. When we come back, looking ahead to the weekend right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Come back with us.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat.
She's on Thinking Out Loud, presented by Regions, and Out of Pocket with Alyssa Lang. It is, in fact, Alyssa Lang.
I'm a little nervous. I'm going to lower the bar for guests now.
Oh, no.
Apologies in advance. It sounds like
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey.
You got that radio voice.
I do.
It's a good sound.
Thanks for radio, too.
As do we. And then here's the other thing. You guys, you're spot on with the name. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. So
And we reach every main street in Middle Tennessee, Coach?
yeah, that's it. So
Perfect.
when you are on Main Street and you are moving,
you gotta love it.
Like you're moving. I was impressed.
I'm glad someone.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao, Mo Patton. And we are looking forward to the weekend. Mo is headed down to Cobb County.
Yeah.
Not to Atlanta. You won't go that far.
No, so there will be no welcome to Atlanta.
There will be no welcome to Atlanta, but there will be a welcome to Buc-ee's, I bet. You stop in Calhoun?
On the way back, probably. Yeah.
Good call. Good call.
Trying to figure out whether there will be a excursion to Papados.
Yeah, that's.
I can't remember if that's.
It's right there.
Do you have to go farther into Atlanta,
No.
or do you pass it?
No, it's
before you get.
So
to,
when you're coming back, it's the 5.
It's Windy Hill.
85 or something. Mm-hmm. You just take that 585 exit, and it'll take you over there. Yeah, it's that's a good call. Yeah, I'm a big fan of.
Well, as you recall, we hit it on the way back.
We
from
did.
SEC Football Media Days last year. So
yeah, it was an absolute beauty.
Never a bad idea.
Never a bad idea. No, that's it's in Marietta, so you should be good.
Yeah.
That's about. I mean, that and what else is this weekend? I think there's a little bit of Women's World Cup, and after
NASCAR's at Richmond, right?
NASCAR's at Richmond, which is going to be about as exciting as watching Women's World Cup. Which I know that the Netherlands is kind of they're the, for lack of a better term, the bad boys of this thing. So, watching that match was pretty cool. And obviously the U.S. ending up with a 1-1 draw there was probably the best case scenario. So I'm curious to see how the U.S. responds, and I'm trying to find out when they play again. Because I really don't know. I would assume it's tomorrow, but this, I don't see them. So perhaps they don't play again until Monday. I don't know. But yeah, no idea. I don't know if the U.S. is going to play again at all. But yeah, that's about what's going on this weekend. So I am actually going to be going, I think we're either going to go to the zoo tomorrow to see the dragon. Maybe. We may go to the zoo tomorrow to see the dragon. I've got to teach Whiskey University on Sunday, so get to do that, which is never bad when you get to do a little drinking of the whiskey.
Yeah.
But it's the teaching part that's kind of, monotonous and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this weekend is going to be it's kind of a rare weekend down for me. I don't have anything going on that's that's taking me anywhere. I don't have anything crazy going on.
No weddings this weekend?
Weddings, no DJing. I mean, I actually don't have a wedding at all this month. Getting ready, because I mean, it's kind of the calm before the storm, as you say. And of course, resting up for high school football season, because we've got, there are scrimmages all over this weekend, next weekend, and
some the following weekend.
There is actually football next Thursday night, pro football. The Hall of Fame game is less than a week away. So I'm just trying to get all the rest I can. It's kind of like, the backing up the car, and then when you let it go, it just zooms. That's it's kind of, because football season goes so fast. It's like football season just is here and gone in no time. So anyway, so yeah, Atlanta, Papados. That sounds fun.
Looking forward to it.
Did you happen to see that the information out there that Derrick Henry was actually the one who called the group chat for the running backs?
I did not.
That's what Dalvin Cook says. He said Derrick Henry started a running back group chat, and Austin Eckler from the Chargers got the Zoom call together. And that list includes Saquon, Henry, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, and J.K. Dobbins. So, what do you think happens here?
I don't know what can happen. I mean, I don't know what it is that they're trying to get accomplished, to be honest.
I'll be more than interested.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like running back is just one of those positions that if you need one, you can get one. And I mean, and I hate to say that, but they're just that. It's almost like the top level. It's kind of like quarterbacks, though. I mean, there's only probably 10 running backs that are worth, big dollars. And then everybody else is just kind of serviceable until you can find somebody
and interchangeable.
Until the next one comes along. I don't know. Real quick before we get out of here, Austin Peay announced a new Ring of Honor that will retire the jerseys of 14 governors across 11 sports, including one Terry Taylor. And so I'm hoping.
What was his? The red? What was his nickname?
Oh, I don't know what. I'm just curious if Indiana Pacers head coach is going to
Rick Carlisle.
Rick Carlisle will show up if he can find what school he played at. I think that's the real question here. So.
That's funny.
I mean,
where'd you play?
Whatever school Terry Taylor played at. So anyway. All right. We'll be back next week, Mo. We've got more football previews. Memphis and the AAC.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk MTSU and Conference USA. We'll start with the ACC. We'll get into the Big 10 and the Big 12 before the Pac-X on August 7th, which is Monday week. So all of that coming your way next week. Should be a lot of fun here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Come back with us 2 o'clock each and every day. We look forward to more as we continue.
And hopefully I'll sound better.
Hopefully this is, just don't yell your voice out this weekend.
Can't.
Yeah.
It's already gone.
It's already gone. There you go. Well, it's all right. Drink plenty of water, hydrate.
Gotta hydrate.
And you should be good to go. We'll come back then. Thank you guys for hanging out with us again. 2 o'clock next week, all week long, right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be in the Lee Company studio, and we'll see you there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.